you know, it's the edge always trying to take over Chrome. And it's like, if I want you, I know where you are. And I want Chrome.
I read somewhere it's like as much endurance as running a marathon.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it.
Well, it'd be nice, a nice change.
Yes.
We're 16, that's where we are, right? Yes, that's where we are. The caboose looks so cute.
Some pictures of it?
Oh, yeah, it was on
that in
the
the packet?
end. Oh, yeah, it was in the reports.
Oh, I went down the.
But when I was little, cabooses were red,
Position,
I
Jan.
will. It'll come up there in a few.
like a cherry would.
Rest.
Whenever I feel it going like that,
It
little
looks
heartbeat in
great.
there.
Starts feeling like an easy bake oven back.
Oh, well,
Gotta
I do have a
elevate.
sleeve
just
on
got
top.
arrange the transportation, I think.
It's like, so hopefully it'll
They're just telling us this is
Houses are-
done, I think.
Compression, it's the elevation, it's the ice. That's right.
Very lowly chair. There's no captain chair.
Maybe we should just put a bunch of bunk beds in to the ceiling.
Keeping it warm.
Don't be associated.
Delivery anticipated in May. There it is.
The mic's on.
Oh, you're welcome.
So next month.
Okay, I have 6 o'clock. If everyone could please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Christy, could you please take roll call?
Sure.
Pappenfort,
Here.
Stevens,
Here.
Fontana,
Here.
Critelli,
Present.
Martin,
Here.
Nacarado, absent, Mayor Shore,
Here.
a quorum is present.
Okay, not a problem. Great. And before I read the civility invocation, I received a call today from a citizen who expressed concerns with the ability to hear people when they're speaking at council meetings. And the request was for people that have hearing challenges, when you're at the mic, and that applies to us here on the dais. It also applies to when you're speaking a public comment, if you can really make sure to bring the mic close to your mouth so that these people can hear, that would be much, much appreciated. So thanks. Okay, the civility invocation. We are here working together to create a thriving community. It is the intention of the Salida City Council to promote civil communication by adopting the following guidelines for speaking to the public in the City Council chambers. It's our hope that by acting in this manner, we can help create a safe space for people to share their perspectives and opinions. We honor the opportunity to be engaged in the process of governance for the benefit of our community. We acknowledge that each of us brings a unique perspective to this conversation and that our perspectives may differ. We challenge ourselves to value varying points of view and hold all contributions as equally important. We understand and accept that while we may sometimes disagree, we can always be courteous and kind. We commit to respectful language, avoiding rumor, harsh criticism, or personal accusation, even when feeling emotionally charged. We will, to the best of our ability, speak thoughtfully and listen with attention, respect, and curiosity. We are confident that there may be even better solutions than any of us have thought of, which may be discovered through civil conversations. We affirm our support for women's rights, including equal pay, equal treatment under the law and in the workplace, and the right to determine choices that impact the direction and personal values of one's life, including all individuals' reproductive health choices. We commit to the city of Salida being a hate-free zone and declare and affirm a policy of non-discrimination on the basis of a person's race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, age, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, marital status, military or veteran status, socioeconomic class, medical condition, or physical or mental disability. And that brings us to the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments on anything on the consent agenda this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I move to combine and approve the items on the consent agenda.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Curtelli, seconded by Councilmember Martin, and the motion is to combine and approve the items on the consent agenda. Further discussion?
Stevens,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Peppenfort,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
motion passed.
And that brings us to citizen comment. A couple of things on citizen comment. Number one, when you come up and you introduce yourself, you don't have to give your address. We realize there could be some safety concerns around that, but if you could just say whether you live in Salida or not, that would be helpful. Everyone has 3 minutes to speak, and in fairness to everyone, I'm gonna hold everyone accountable to that 3 minutes. At the end of the 3, I will thank you, and if anyone feels like they need more time, please reach out to me after the meeting. I'm more than happy to sit down with you after, but we are gonna hold people accountable to that. And I'm gonna go get the sheet. I'm not gonna make you do it.
I was gonna run over there for you.
Hop over, run over.
Trying to get out of here early.
Would be nice. No more rockabouts.
And first up, we have Adam Martinez.
Okay, thank you, guys. First, I want to comment about what's going on in my neighborhood. I live in Salida originally, and and this has been going on with Mrs. Adelman for about 30 years. And in the 30 years, her behavior has not gotten better. She has trash in her truck. She has trash all over the place. The neighborhood is filled with trash, and she has trash in her yard. The front gate of the house, the back gate of the house is busted, and my family has had to buy containers to put their food in because the mice go all over the place. And I think that, and I have told each one of you guys about it. I have told past council members about it. There has not been an officer that has been on that block, and not a city council person that has been on that block over the last 30 years. And nothing has gone done about it. And it resulted last summer in my neighbor's house burning down. And I think that we need to do something about it. I brought pictures tonight, and they're with Christy. You can take a look at what it is. And I just think that you guys reaffirmed Cheryl Hardy more. And I think that she does not want to do anything about it. It only gives, hiring her only is a Band-Aid to the problem and puts my neighbor's house at risk and my whole neighborhood's house at risk. And I think you should be, because the justice system in Salida is flawed, and we need to fix it. And another note, I had listened to the last meeting. One of the council women, in essence, called a citizen a name which I don't want to disclose, but I think we need to have more respect for the citizens. And I urge you to do, and I think that we need to work together as a community, and respect works both ways. And then also, we need to get a handle on this trash dilemma, because we need the mayor and the administrator to do more regarding this, because this cannot go on any more longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. And next up, Garrett Lundberg.
Hey, everybody. I hope I'm close enough. My name is Garrett Lundberg, and I'm here to speak on the inclusionary housing fee in regards to my situation. First and foremost, I absolutely support affordable housing in Salida. Growing up here, I have always felt that having a diverse socioeconomic community is one of the things that I value the most growing up here. And it's something that I think is really important to continue. And so far, I think you're doing a great job on that. So good job. I want to give you a little bit of background. 10 years ago, I was able to purchase a lot and a double wide trailer using funds saved from working at River's Edge, that restaurant on the river. And I was able to use a small college fund that was passed on to me from securing a full ride at Fort Lewis College. So I was able to purchase this property and, rent it out for the past 10 years. The well went dry in 2021, and it was a part of the county at that time, not the city. At that point, we had to either drill a new well, which wasn't feasible, or tap onto the city's water. So we were presented with the opportunity to annex into the city, which I did. At that point, the inclusionary housing fee was put into the contract, and it wasn't really a second thought. In 2023, I started exploring building 3 units, me building a single family home and my mother building a duplex, so 3 units altogether. It was indicated by the realtor, the city, and the title researcher that the property could be split. This later came to light in 2024, a few months ago, that the property could no longer be split, so this is not a subdivision. It's gonna have to be condominiumized. The 3 units can still be built, but it is not going to be able to be subdivided. My current issues are, we don't have the scale to deed restrict a unit. If we did, it would be 33% of the full project instead of that 16.7%. And a bank will not give us a loan with the current cost per square foot. So if we deed restrict one of the units, it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, to secure that loan. I've done some research, and other subdivisions have been able to have a price per square foot that is cheaper, and as far as that inclusionary housing fee, and I was not given the option to negotiate. I'm not a big developer, and I plan on using this single family home to live in myself, and I hope to move back to Salida permanently. $24,000 is currently what I would be charged, and that is a massive amount of money for me as just an average citizen. So that's kind of just wanted to pass on some information, and
Thank you, Garrett.
for your time.
Thank you. Jerry Mallett.
Jerry Mallett, Salida, Colorado. Several weeks ago, a group of us formed a Chaffee County Recreation Initiative with a projection to put this on the ballot in 2025. The idea is do a rec district through the county. I've met with 3 rec districts in the other 2 principalities, and they've heard what I've said. I've talked to the banks. There's a lot of enthusiasm. The bottom line, it would either be a bond, a sales tax, or a mill levy, and that's the hold up right now, but we do want to let you know that we're moving forward on that, and that we'd like to get on the ballot early and be able to put this on the ballot in 25. I did send a note to Christy. She said she'd share it with you folks, and I didn't think you wanted me to read it to you, but thanks very much.
Thank you, Jerry. And then Doug Mendelson.
Are you able to put that up, Christie?
I'm looking for it.
Okay. Well, I don't know if she can get it, but we're gonna pass around a picture. This is also, I'll be talking about the Edelman property.
And if you can, just make sure into the mic so those people can hear you.
Okay, my name is Doug Mendelson, and I'm gonna be talking about the Edelman property as well. I only lived in the neighborhood for 4 years, and 3.5 years ago, the police raided her property. It looks like that then, it looks like that now. It's disgusting, it's a travesty. The police come by there almost every 3 hours, and they've arrested her 25 times. She has a 25 count an indictment against her right now. She just keeps going back. The judge tells her not to go to her property at night. She goes back. Like he said, she allegedly started a fire that caught on to the neighbor's house. I think you all know that. It's just, she has no electricity or water for the last couple of years. They live in the driveway. They're not supposed to. I've talked to the police. I talked to Drew when he was here. It took 16 months. They finally went in there with a front-end loader and cleaned out her yard. The next day, she started filling with all that junk again. And she laughs at you. She laughs at the judge. The judge, she either doesn't show up or the judge gives her a continuance. She fines her $2,000 and then says, oh, I'll just make it $100. You know, we just need to get rid of her. According to, I was here 2 years ago talking about this. I told you, I told the chief of police, I told everybody. The Salida section 7150 through 100, chapter 1, article 4, and section 7210 specifically say you can go in there, you can shut her down, you can clean it up, you can condemn the property. You can do all that stuff, and nobody has done a thing. So I'm here to request that you get with the new administrator and maybe the city attorney. She should be in on this too. And, you know, finally clean this up. You know, maybe it's not the #1 neighborhood in town, but there's a lot of good people who live in that neighborhood, and they're scared to even go to the mailbox across the street from this house. And now she has some guest cars living in her driveway, which is also illegal, and the cops haven't done a thing about it. And it's been there for 2 weeks. So, you know, this is getting a little ridiculous. So I ask you please to get the authorities to act. That's it.
Thank you. Jim Miller.
Good evening, Mayor Shore, City Council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jim Miller. So last meeting, I tried to have a reasonable conversation about the Poncha Springs water and sewer situation between the city of Salida and Poncha Springs. And I've been overwhelmed with a tremendous amount of misinformation that is coming our way. First of all the way from the claim that there is no issue, the pipeline is adequate, that it's Salida's responsibility. It just goes on and on and on. And if I've been receiving this, I am sure you guys have received a whole lot more. So I'm here tonight to make a couple things clear, okay? First of all, I've heard the size of the pipeline is greatly exaggerated, and in fact, the critical part of it, that's the problem, is apparently 10 inches. And the last engineering report says it's basically at capacity given the existing water or sewer taps in Poncha Springs and what they've already approved. So this is an issue that's coming to a head. I just want to urge you to stand your ground. This problem needs to get resolved, but it's a problem. It's a physical problem. And if we could just get the politics out of it, it would go a lot smoother. I'm not saying you guys are the problem. I think Poncha Springs and other elements are the problem. They need to put their big boy pants on and realize that growth, according to the last agreement from 2010, must pay its own way. And it is not fair for the current users, either in Salida or Poncha Springs, to dig into our pockets to pay for the growth and the problem of replacing that water line. That should be on new growth, period, and not on the rest of us. That's been my position, and I think it is the correct one, and I think it's a position that the city takes and is the correct, also the correct position. I'm not an attorney, I'm just a citizen. But thank you very much for listening to me complain about people's pie in the sky, make-believe facts, all right? So thank you.
Thank you. And then next up, Carrie Mesh.
Good evening. I'd like to make a couple comments regarding the sewer lawsuit. in response to things that I've seen in writing. So to start with, tonight's opening statement that'll be part of the attorney report does talk about Section 7, which I have seen in print a lot, and we obviously feel differently about it. And it does say that the sewer system, its construction, operation, or maintenance provided is Salida's responsibility, provided that the costs of construction and expansion of the sewer system are not paid for by existing ratepayers. We agree. But that the costs are borne by future development. And we very strongly feel all development that has come out of Poncha since this has paid, through tap fees, millions of dollars into Poncha's fund, and that is how development pays for expansion and helps pay for expansion. I'd also like to talk about the paragraph dealing with P.T. Wood's letter to Poncha Board in 2020, warning that this property, referring to Tailwinds 2, was identified outside the planned municipal service area within the IGA. There is no municipal service area within the IGA. So that is not accurate. Mayor Wood concluded that the city of Salida, acting as the water and wastewater enterprise, humbly requests that no decision on annexation, especially with regard to public improvements, be made until the full scope of flow data can be collected, analyzed, and discussed. This has far-reaching financial implications for ratepayers and property owners in Poncha Springs, should additional improvements, including expansion, need to occur with the Poncha Springs trunk line. That statement saying that there's far-reaching financial implications for ratepayers and property owners in Poncha Springs is against everything that the IGAs actually say. April of 22, 2 years ago, a letter was received by Tailwinds saying that they were not going to be able to give them their sewer extension agreement. In December of 22, our development got the same letter. I don't know who made that decision, but it effectively stopped development in Poncha as we know it by not being able to have sewer extension agreements. So if 2 years ago development was stopped with letters from staff, why 14 months later was it necessary to have an emergency ordinance put a moratorium on Poncha Springs sewer extension when it had already been stopped 2 years early, or at 14 months?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, do we have anyone online?
I have one person, but they haven't raised their hand or anything. So if they want to speak, raise your hand or let us know.
Okay, because I'm gonna close this down unless, if you'd like to speak, now would be your opportunity?
Yep.
Okay, all right, very good. Then we will move on to unfinished business. In ordinance 2024-04, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, amending Section 4-2-30A8 of the Salida Municipal Code to modify the terms of the Affordable Housing Fund. This is a second reading and a public hearing, and I'll hereby open the public hearing and turn it over to staff for their report.
Evening, Mayor and Council. So basically, with this ordinance, we'd be changing the language of the terms of the Affordable Housing Fund to allow for use of those funds on projects that would mimic the breadth of affordability that we have via our inclusionary housing policy. So our inclusionary housing policy does focus on a wide variety of affordable housing for the local workforce, up to 160% AMI. As I've mentioned before, market rates are generally 180% AMI, 200% AMI, and upwards on the for sale side of things. Our inclusionary housing policy does cap out at 160% AMI, and we have some projects that have been approved at that, up to that level, including units at that level, that could potentially benefit from the Affordable Housing Fund down the line. So staff's recommendation is to update the terms of the fund to be consistent with our inclusionary housing policy. And with that, the recommended motion is included in the packet, and I can take any questions you may have.
Questions for Bill?
It's pretty straightforward. Keeping.
Okay. There is no applicant this evening. Is there anyone that signed up for public comment?
Not on this one.
Okay. All right. So no one signed up for public comment. Anyone online? Okay. No need for rebuttal. I'm going to go ahead and close public hearing, which will take us to preliminary council discussion. Who would like to begin?
Sounds like standard bookkeeping and getting our language lined up. I'd make a motion.
Sure. Do you have it? Oh, you're good.
Oh, no.
Okay.
They were the second.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2024-04, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, amending section 4230A8 on the Salida Municipal Code to modify the terms of the Affordable Housing Fund.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Critelli, seconded by Councilmember Martin, and the motion is to approve ordinance 2024-04, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, amending section, section 4-2-30A8 of the Salida Municipal Code to modify the terms of the Affordable Housing Fund. Further discussion?
Fontana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Critelli.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And then next up is ordinance 2024-05, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, amending the city code to repeal and reenact Chapter 11, Article 6, entitled Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails of the Salida Municipal Code. This is also a second reading and a public hearing, so I will go ahead and open the public hearing and turn it over to Diesel to summarize his report.
So my report is essentially a summary of the work session that we went through, brought to you here in the form of an action request so that it was more readily accessible to the public. As I had stated a couple weeks ago, the Parks and Recreation Code appears to have been written over time as needed and before the Department of Parks and Recreation was in existence. So we have taken examples from other municipalities. We've worked with our legal firm, and we have developed a new Parks and Recreation Code, basically eliminating the entire section and replacing it with a new the same section, new code. So major deviations from this code are that we have no code specifically for the pool or the skate park or Marvin Park. We have parks in general defined. We have a more elaborate prohibited acts part of the code. We have, we've added special uses and parades and races as needing permission from staff and or council. And we have liquor licenses clearly defined as what needs to go to council to be approved, not events in general to be approved. We can keep scrolling. There is an example of the old city code or parks code, and the bullet points are the headings. And then the proposed code, just a more basic parks defined, hours, private use, that would include special uses, parades, and rentals, and special events. Motor vehicle regulations, the prohibited act section there, enforcement, and then administrative rules, posting of a variety of different requirements for either revegetation or safety or whatever becoming enforceable based on this code. So as we had gone, I won't go over all this in detail since we did it in a work session, but again, to be available in the council packet, there were examples of some of the confusing or illogical code that had over time we had outgrown. And So far, if you keep scrolling, the extent of the existing codes prohibited acts section were those like 4 bullets, and an odd dogs in park statement. What we've done is we've expanded the prohibited acts, and they're all listed there. Some of the highlights: hitting golf balls, having target practice, still building tents or structures in the parks, smoking, vaping, lighted tobacco products. It is still prohibited to have a dog in a park, based on your feedback. And if we keep scrolling, you can see down there at the city council meeting on April 2nd, 2024, the ordinance was approved with amendments adding language to section 11670 of the Salida Municipal Code that continued to prohibit dogs from Salida city parks and remove section 3 of the code in its entirety. So you can see our recommendation is to approve as amended, and the language, the motion language is in your packet.
Questions for Diesel?
I think we answered all those questions during the work session.
Yeah, okay, very good.
good
No
job.
applicant here tonight. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? Okay. Jackie Burnt? Thanks. That's okay. She gets to hear her name twice.
That's okay. Good evening, council, mayor, and staff. As I read over the ordinance that you guys have proposed, I think it's done in a very good, detailed, and should not have any questions at all, except I have one, and it's up on the screen now. It would be the 11.6 section, and it would be M. Okay, as it reads, discharge of fire, shooting of firearms, archery equipment. Anyway, what comes after and? Is that we're leaving it blank and fill in as we need to?
I read that as like
I
connecting
could
the
speak to
lines.
that. So it's listing various items, and the and after the N, it should be the only and. It's just having drafted these types of ordinances, probably that she had thought M was the second to last so that and could either be deleted, or it's not incorrect, because it's just, these are just a list of and could be after all of them, or that and could just be removed, and you can just keep the and after N.
Because there's like an and at the end of N as well. I just assumed that they were connecting the lines.
It is, yes,
Oh,
that's
okay.
what it means.
Yeah, I'd lose both of those ands on M and N and change that comma after bolts to.
I would recommend not to remove the and after N. That's purposeful, because it's a
Yes,
list.
it's the second to the last. I understand that.
Yeah.
But it was, it's just kind of like, why didn't we just put blank, 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 and we'll fill in if we need to add something? And not that I'm that picky, but with all the other things about not being able to have dogs in parks and not being able to do this and do that, I would just like it to be a more sealed deal document.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Appreciate it, Jackie. Do we have anyone online?
No.
Nope, no one online, okay. No, there's no rebuttal here. Does council have any questions of any party or person who offered comment?
No, good job.
Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and that'll take us to preliminary council discussion. Who would like to begin?
No, I think you did a great job from just like a couple weeks ago when we talked, was it just the last council meeting?
Yes.
Good job.
Work session, then first reading, now second.
Yeah, it looks good.
Anything else? Or a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2024-05 as amended on second reading.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Critelli. And the motion is to approve ordinance 2024-05 as amended on second reading. Further discussion?
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Fratelli,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thanks. And that brings us to new business. And the first item under new business is the sound permit. It's an amplified sound permit for High Side. This is also a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and turn it over to me. Okay, thanks, Christy.
Thank you. So we received a sound permit application from High Side Bar and Grill at 300 West Sackett Street Avenue to host the Salida Enduro Race After Party on April 27th from 3 to 9. Amplified sound permits are allowed to be approved by the administrator between the dates of May 1st and November 1st. Since this one is outside that date, public hearing is required. Staff is recommending approval of the amplified sound permit for April 27th between the hours of 3 and 9. And I can answer any questions if you have them.
Questions for Christy? Okay. We have no there's no applicant here tonight, correct?
She's not.
Okay, very good. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? I'll get my exercise in.
I'm waiting here.
Put you right on the.
I know. Nope.
Controversial. Okay. So no one signed up for public comment. Is there anyone online?
No.
No one online. No rebuttal. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and that'll take us to preliminary council discussion. Who'd like to start?
Mayor, I move to approve an amplified sound permit for High Side Bar and Grill located at 300 West Sackett Avenue for the Salida Enduro Race After Party to be held on April 27th, 2024, between the hours of 3 p.m. and 9 p.m.
Second?
So we have a motion from Councilmember Critelli, seconded by Councilmember Martin, and the motion is to approve an amplified sound permit for High Side Bar and Grill located at 300 West Sackett Avenue for the Salida Enduro Race After Party to be held on April 27th, 2024, between the hours of 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. Further discussion?
Stevens,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Pappenfort.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. And next up is Resolution 2024-28, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the amended interstate parking services agreement with Interstate Parking Management.
Oh, let me put Christy over here.
Oh.
Oh, we can't hear you, Christy.
Sorry about that. This is the first time I've participated remotely, so thanks. Yes, and thank you for letting me participate remotely so I can get started on my conference bright and early tomorrow morning. So you have before you a resolution amending the contract with Interstate Parking.
Can you get a little bit closer to the mic?
Yes. Sorry about that.
Great.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So just a little background, as you all, I'm sure, remember, Ordinance 2024-2 was approved by Council in February, which allowed us to enter into a multi-year agreement with Interstate Parking for them to assist in the establishment and management of a comprehensive parking management program in the city of Salida. After that agreement was approved by Council, a number of areas of concern were brought forward by the community, and we established a parking task force to assist in the process. We've had additional community conversations. So throughout these conversations, the need for parking compliance has remained a priority within the city. We currently have parking zones with time limits, primarily downtown, which are inconsistently enforced. We are looking for a better understanding of how downtown parking areas are used, where people are coming from, how long they're staying, that kind of information. So if we are able to gather that information, it can help us identify future parking assets or improvement needs. So in conversations with Interstate Parking, they have agreed that amending the contract would be a better service to the city of Salida. And they are able to help us address our two most pressing issues, data analytics and compliance. So the amended contract that you have in front of you tonight allows Interstate Parking to hire one person to ensure compliance 4 days per week. And those days can be determined on a week-by-week basis. So it might be Friday through Monday or Thursday through Sunday compliance schedule. From May 15th until September 15th, they are also going to be utilizing their technology to collect parking data that will help us then determine potentially marketing, if we want to establish different parking zones within downtown, but at least it will give us the data that we need to make those decisions. The cost for this service is $45,000. The staff has been in a lot of conversations. We do recommend that you approve this contract, which will allow Interstate Parking to begin those services. They do have an individual that they are ready to offer the job to, who has been doing this work for the last 3 years in Alta, Utah, and he's ready to come to Salida and help us in our parking compliance program. And I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Right, and before I turn it over to questions, I just want to say I really appreciate all the work that staff did in. Obviously, we got feedback from the community, and I know it added a lot of extra work, but I think it's really important that we did that and that a lot of people in the community felt heard, and so really grateful for that. And I also want to extend my thanks to Interstate for their willingness to work with us on this contract. I think that's a really good sign of a solid partnership, so thank you. Questions?
Just to reiterate timing, so instead of like a multi-year contract, this is just a contract for just this year. Oh, I see myself on the screen. Oh, God. Oh, man, and it's delayed too. Yeah, so it's just for this year, not multi-year. Just to reiterate.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And Christy, this is going to, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
This will repeal and replace the previous contract, correct?
It will. We will no longer be under that contract that was approved via ordinance.
So what about termination? If their services they're providing to us are not working well, how does termination happen with this? Or it doesn't?
It's a pretty simple time frame. So 4 months isn't very long. If you look at the contract, there's a termination clause in there. It says the city or the contractor may terminate this agreement at any time by providing a minimum of 30 calendar days written notice to the other party. So it's pretty standard contract language.
Okay, so if they're not fulfilling what we're asking them to do, we give them 30 days?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, I think this is exciting. I think it's going to address the parking complaints that we have, because it's my firm belief that if people will move their vehicles after 2 hours, that the parking problem will solve itself. So thank you so much for all this great work.
Any other thoughts?
I think
I just agree with, the slowing this whole process down and really looking into this a little bit more and getting everybody involved was the right way to go. And I think we're proceeding forward correctly in my eyes, and just kind of getting more information. And before we jump into a long-term contract with somebody, I think this is great. Thank you guys for all the work that you've done, and really appreciate it.
And one last thing, so after the contract, there's going to be a bunch of data there, and who's going to analyze that? Does that come to the city staff? Does that go to one department, or who kind of takes all of that data that they're collecting and hopefully we can get some of it and use it in the future,
Right, it'll come to the city.
the city staff.
And any conceivable question we could have about parking would be answered in this study, of
I'm
course,
hoping.
right?
Yeah.
One can hope.
Yeah, right? Optimistic.
No, I just really appreciate, and this is a good example of listening to the community, taking in feedback, and making the appropriate corrections. So thank you for all the work.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I move to approve Resolution 2024-28, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the amended interstate parking services agreement with Interstate Parking Management.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Fontana. The motion is to approve Resolution 2024-28, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the amended interstate parking services agreement with Interstate Parking Management. Further discussion?
Critelli,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, and then.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Casey.
Thank you, thanks. And then next up is Resolution 2024-29, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving May 11th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the city of Salida.
Good evening, Council. So the City of Salida has proudly been a part of Tree City USA for 37 years now. To be a part of Tree City USA, we have to have a couple of conditions. One of them is a community tree ordinance, which we have, spend at least $2 per capita on urban forestry, which we do, and celebrate an Arbor Day each year. So this resolution is celebrating it. We actually will have 2 events this year that we're really excited about. The first is a wonderful volunteer day on May 11th. To plant, and I actually have a typo in here, it's actually 270 saplings, so it's a little more, on S Mountain. So it's a collaborative effort to start a multi-year initiative aiming at restoring, reforesting, and improving our natural landscape. And the sign up is online in case anyone here is interested. And then additionally, we will have a second event on May 16th with the 4th grade class at Longfellow Elementary. They have been researching shade tree species and deciding what they want to plant. This year, they're going to plant a sensation box elder to celebrate Arbor Day. And staff recommends that city approve this resolution, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks.
What time is the one with the school, the 4th graders?
It's not open to the public, but it would be at 1:30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the volunteer day is open to the public. It starts
Okay.
at 9 a.m.
And goes till when they're all.
Till all 270 trees are planted, or approximately 1 p.m.
In our really fertile soil with no rocks lurking underneath it.
You know, we have a really great parks crew that has chosen trees specifically for that area, so I have full faith and confidence that they've picked the right ones.
Yeah, I guess my other question about just the race up S Mountain and how these little saplings would interact with a race of people scrambling up and down the
So
front of the
my
house.
understanding is that these saplings are actually being planted on the backside of S Mountain this year, so it wouldn't, they wouldn't be pulling up saplings on the way up.
Okay.
It's on the other side.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's next year's problem, or another year's problem.
So Sarah, I don't know if you know, but the last time I was involved in planting saplings, we had a polymer that we planted with the sapling to bring moisture to it. Are we doing that?
You know, I really wish Zach Ryerson was here, but Diesel Post looks like he is walking quickly to the microphone.
Coming in for the save.
No, at this point, this is about as kind of natural as you can go for planting trees. So we're installing Z-dikes. So just rock bars to collect whatever existing moisture there is. A few of them have already been placed up there. So if you're up there, I think even if you just walk Spiral Drive, you can see some of these Z-dikes and soil, like site prepped prepped planting areas now. So the goal is to collect whatever is already there. The polymer just didn't feel like it was appropriate for this application. You know, in our parks, sure. A little more natural here.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Should do this motion.
If there aren't any, I'd welcome a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 2024-29, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving May 11th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the City of Salida.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Stevens, seconded by Councilmember Pappenfort. The motion is to approve Resolution 2024-29, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving May 11th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the City of Salida. Further discussion? Christie?
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Fontana.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. And that brings us to Resolution 2024-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, expressing commitment to Together We Stand, a Chaffee County project.
Thank you, Mayor. The League of Women Voters of Chaffee County announced earlier this year that they were putting together a project called Together We Stand, which is based on Richard Haas's book, The Bill of Obligations, and the 10 Habits of Good Citizens. As many of you know, probably, the Colorado Mountain College in Salida has chosen this book as the 2024 Community Common Reader. The League of Women Voters is asking organizations to endorse the 10 Habits of Good Citizens. There's no fiscal impact to approving this. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend. I'm almost done with it, and I'm probably going to ask all of the department heads to read it once I'm done. So staff is recommending that council approve this resolution supporting Together We Stand. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for? If there are no questions, a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, expressing a commitment to Together We Stand, a Chaffee County project.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Fontana, seconded by Councilmember Critelli. The motion is to approve Resolution 2024-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, expressing commitment to Together We Stand, a Chaffee County project. Further discussion?
Fontana,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Well, for the newer members of council, I don't think you've experienced a meeting where we got to council reports prior to 7 o'clock.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, yeah.
Can happen.
I hope pleasantly.
Well, I don't, yeah, wow.
So we'll start with Councilmember Critelli.
Well, just to address some previous comments, I think indeed when we have a citywide fee system or, to address housing, and we try to close loopholes that are exploited by larger organizations, then sometimes the little guy gets caught in the crosshairs. Just to speak to Garrett's comments, I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot about smaller projects like Robbins that are having a hard time with, bank loans as a result of inclusionary housing, or just fees that affect the individual so much more than a business. I think, again, it really came about as a response to a loophole that we needed to close. And certainly, is a hard thing. You know, you wanna help out the individual, and empower the individual, to do something with their smaller property, while at the same time not have it be exploited. And how do you balance those two things? So it is on the radar. I don't really know the answer to those questions. Just knowing that we're aware of it, and if there is a way to address it, then certainly would love to pursue it, or at least have that conversation. And also just to talk about 610 Walnut, yeah, it's certainly on our radar as well. And it's just kind of like it's a reminder of how long things take. Like when you look at D Street, the apartments there, and how long it would, that process, and how expensive, and how much staff hour, just to be able to get to where we are now with that one property. It's probably a good thing that it's not as easy for us as a government to just kick people off their property. Again, it's one of those things when you come to the most egregious example of that, though, yeah, then, you know, it keeps us from being able to act, you know, as quickly as maybe we would like to. But again, just to address the overall, you know, idea of, you know, it's generally not a great idea for it to be super easy for government to just remove people from their property. Other than that, yeah, I will, you know, I'll let the other discussions about our lawsuit with Poncha Springs, I mean, I'll certainly let our legal experts speak to that, because I get my, I develop my opinion from their expert opinion, because I didn't go to school for that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fontana.
Sure, so I have a question. Will we have a chance to talk after Nina, or the next part that comes up, the attorney report? Will we have a chance to talk about that then?
Not at that point, no.
Not after she talks?
Right.
Wouldn't want to incriminate anything that could be coming up.
But there will obviously, we'll get the report, we'll process it, and there can always be, you know, for future discussion.
Okay, after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have a couple different things. First off, I'd like to say thank you to Sarah and Christy for talking to me about a liquor license. You know, at the hardware store, we get approached about liquor licenses just about all the time when I'm in there. I don't know how, but somehow I learned about the process, and they helped me out a lot. So if you really want to know about it, don't come to me. You can, but they're the people.
Maybe you need to start selling liquor as well.
I don't know. I don't want to, but they were approached, so it's okay. You should go to those
Power
two.
tools, come on.
Yeah. Next thing is, we're about ready to go into tourist season, which is awesome. It's great, brings a lot of revenue in. Don't forget about local businesses if you're local. Sometimes the tourists don't frequent them or whatever it is, so make sure everybody's shopping local. I mean, that's a great thing. So I know Justin touched on the Poncha sewer, and that's why I was asking, because I do have a couple things, and I obviously am not the expert, but I would like to say just a couple things about it, and about, you know, being local and growth in this, and the growth in our city. So growth pays for growth. So if you're putting money into something, you're hoping you will grow for that. We talk about how, who will pay for all of the Poncha sewer line improvements and such. And that is where the growth in that, the developers put the infrastructure in. The infrastructure costs money. That is treated as one as Salida, and Poncha Springs should be treated as one. So if Salida then owns that infrastructure that the developers have put in, then Salida collects the tap fees also, then that is growth. So we're collecting money for all of that. And we need to treat Salida and Poncha Springs as one community, not two separate on that. And I'm sure the lawyers have their own I just want to make sure that people in Poncha don't think Salida treats them as outsiders. We're all one community, and we need to be treated as such. And the lawyers will sort certain things out. Hopefully, we can work things out before it goes too far down the line. The only way I can suggest to have working together done and made public, there's a lot of things that the constituents of Salida or Poncha Springs don't feel like things are out in the public, that we're not being transparent. And I know that there's some press releases that have come out. Those are awesome. Those are great. It feels like the city's moving forward with that. The only thing I can suggest is that hopefully staff can make the negotiations on the sewer line with Salida and Poncha more transparent and more out in the open, more public. And I don't know how to suggest that, but if there's a way to put the negotiations out there where everybody can see what's happening, that's what I would suggest.
And it's challenging in the midst of a lawsuit.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So that's all. Just make sure you shop local.
Okay. Councilmember Martin?
I want to remind everybody that Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. at the Salida Community Center, there's the What's Up Salida event from 8:30 to 9:30. There's also going to be a play coming on soon, put on by the Salida Theater Company. It's called Dead Man's Cell Phone. It's directed by Salida and Greta Houston, who is a good friend and colleague of mine. And also Councilmember Justin Critelli is in it as well.
Didn't have to throw me under the bus like that.
So it's at a church. It'll be May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then I did get a chance to go on a trail walk with Donna Rhodes and Tom Picorni in order to plan a Ward 3 cleanup. We also got a chance to just talk about a few of the things going on in the city. David Lady, I'm hoping to chat with you at one point. I know Donna had a chance to talk to you that day. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pappenford?
I'll add on to what Suzanne said. Developers in Salida pay for the infrastructure when new communities are opened up. And so that's how it works. That's how it's always worked. And that's how we're visioning it to continue to work, that development pays its own way. And then as to what Justin said, I agree with him. If there's any way that we can find relief for some of these folks who are just individuals building their own homes, that they're not paying tens of thousands of dollars toward inclusionary housing when they are doing everything in their power to just build themselves a home and maybe for their mom too. Then let's see what kind of exceptions we could cut out for those folks. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Stevens?
Yeah, just a few events that will be coming up, getting on everybody's minds as the weather's changing, and Monarch's closing weekend coming up. People are going to be looking towards, the river, going towards the river season. So come up here shortly on May 18th, the upcoming events. There's the Cleanup Green Up for the Arkansas River that's going to be taking place. Get out there and clean up our rivers and make sure, get them ready for our busy river season. That's going to be put on by Garna and CPW. Another little event, AHRA and the City of Salida, along with the City of Salida Fire and FIBARC. That same day on May 18th, 50 kids are going to be, or the whole third grade of Salida will be receiving NRS PFDs. And the first 50 kids also can get a PFD for AHRA's Gear Up for Summer's event. As I say, also on May 18th. And then a little bit further down the line, FIBARC season's coming along in June. So if you see the FIBARC volunteers out there, please, thank them very much. They work year round. It's not just, a couple months before they start this big, one of the biggest events that go on in our town. So thank them. It's also, they're looking for volunteers, starting for volunteers for the event. You can find that at fitbark.com for information. Go on there and please volunteer if you can for, any position that you can. And I think that's about all I got.
Great, thank you. I just had 3 things tonight. We had our second meeting of the F Street Working Group today, and thanks to staff, to our fire chief, public works, police, as well as our administrator were there. I thought we had a good conversation. I think it was really helpful because it's going to keep us from going down rabbit holes that maybe otherwise we would have. We have a meeting scheduled again in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about pros and cons and kind of take that information we got today. But it was really nice to see these different groups representing different interests working together, getting to understand better where each others were coming from. And I think that's what makes a community work. And so I'm encouraged, and we'll see where it goes from here. The second thing is I just want to echo what I heard earlier. We had Robin Nijam came in and spoke about her project. We had Garrett Lundberg tonight, and I know we're trying to solve for some really big, important issues around housing, and it just feels to me like we're seeing some unintended consequences, and I just think it's important that we continue to have these conversations and try to work with folks like this. So that's the second thing. The last thing I wanted to mention was pertaining to the Poncha sewer line. And I was sworn in as mayor in November of 21, and for the 4 years prior to that, I was very peripherally involved, but I know former Mayor Wood and current Commissioner Wood was very involved. And I know that during that time, the thing he was most focused on was trying to resolve the conflicting language that exists in the agreement. I mean, if in a perfect world I could invent a time machine, we could go back to 2010 and write it in a way that we weren't in conflict with one another right now. Sadly, I don't have that technology. But the big concern with it was, he did not want, and I believe this as well, for existing ratepayers. And I hear this stuff, Poncha versus Salida. When I talk about existing ratepayers, it doesn't matter. It's existing ratepayers in Poncha, it's existing ratepayers in Salida. And former Mayor Wood's intention, he didn't want those folks to have to pay for that growth. And shortly after I was sworn in, I got a call, was asked to meet with a couple of the developers. And I was really excited about it because we had just heard, we had hired as bond counsel this attorney by the name of Dee Weiser, who's recognized as the statewide expert on it. And what he had shared with us was that the agreement needed to be amended so that we could move forward with the financing. It's really important. At the time, we were talking about an estimated cost of $14 million. We don't have that lying around, and I know for certain that Poncha doesn't as well. And, unfortunately, there just wasn't much buy-in on that, and I get it. I mean, we're people coming from different perspectives, but that kind of ended up being a non-starter. But from my perspective, really all I care about, I'd love to figure out a way that we can work together. But I feel like as owners and operators of the wastewater fund, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the existing ratepayer, and that they shouldn't be saddled with the cost of that expansion. They don't benefit from it. The reason we need the new pipe is because there's been a lot of growth there. Just to provide a little bit of perspective, in 17, we had conversations with their administrator at the time expressing our concern with growth, and what we heard back was, oh, this is a 50-year out problem, and we're never going to grow at more than 4% a year. I so wish that it was a 50-year out problem, because I wouldn't be dealing with it today. It would be 44 years in the future, but here we are. And I mean, from 20 to 22, they grew at over 38%. I mean, that's a massive amount of growth in a short period of time. And shortly after the IGA was signed, in their master plan, they spelled out not to allow growth to get ahead of infrastructure, yet here we are. I'd love to think there's a way to come together and figure out a way to pay for this, but I think about all the development that's occurred since 17 and how this cost could have been spread out amongst that. And it just feels like a missed opportunity. I'm open to conversations, and at the same time, the reason we tried to get as far out in front of it as we did is this is a multi-year process, going out for the, for the bond financing and getting the pipe in the ground. And I wish it was there today, and sadly, it's not. So I don't really have any answer other than that, we have tried, we'll continue to try. But I just wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that, existing ratepayers, whether they live in Poncha or here, were being asked to pay for something they don't benefit from. So that's just wanted to full transparency. So that's all that I have this evening. Yeah, and then so next up, we have a treasurer report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There we go, Christy, thank you. I'm a little technology challenged tonight, but I think I can get through this. So February, we were up 4.3% in the city sales tax collections. And unfortunately, there we go. We were flat with the county collections, and bringing us to a total of 3.2%, I think I can read that there. And then overall thank you. Overall, we're pretty flat for the year. So, but things are tracking in a good direction. So, and we'll revisit the budgetary reports after the end of the first quarter. So,
okay. Great, thanks. And attorney report.
Thank you, Mayor. So my report will be longer than usual because this is an important topic that you have asked me to present upon. So as promised tonight, I will give a verbal update regarding the lawsuit that the town of Poncha Springs, Tailwind Group, and Full Views Matter brought against the city of Salida. I will summarize and clarify facts and historical perspectives surrounding the matter relating to the Poncha sanitary sewer trunk line. So on your screen, and this is also in your the report in the on the agenda, is the Poncha trunk line. It's also called the Poncha Interceptor. This is a sewer line serving the Poncha Springs service area. It's located across US 50 near Poncha Springs Lane within the town of Poncha Springs, and it terminates along US 50 near 14th Street in the city of Salida. So this is the infrastructure that requires upgrade. It's the only infrastructure that requires upgrade due to the development in the Poncha Springs service area. So as I've shared and as Mayor Shore has said, beginning in 2017, Salida notified Poncha Springs of the growing concern of the Public Works Department regarding the capacity of this pipeline. Because of the capacity concerns, city staff engaged Providence Infrastructure Consultants in 2018 to monitor sewer flow capacity at the Poncha Interceptor. So I want to talk about this engineering study and analysis. This study was done by, again, Providence Infrastructure Consultants, and they concluded that this Poncha Interceptor, the Poncha trunk line that you see in front of you, was approaching capacity, and it was anticipated to reach critical flow at the build-out of existing platted lots that were already approved through previously approved sewer line extension or connection agreements. The development and current rate of growth within Poncha Springs service area made it clear to these engineering consultants the need to upsize the sanitary sewer infrastructure within the next few years and before the specific threshold of units were developed. To further summarize this report, just because it's brought up many times and incorrectly quoted, Figure 2 of this technical memorandum, which is included in the packet as well, indicated that this Poncha trunk line sewer flow will reach 80% pipe capacity between 1150 and 1135 equivalent single-family units. That's the critical time frame that these engineering consultants recommended that we use to begin improvements that were necessary at this Poncha sanitary sewer trunk line. As of January 2023, the current number of residential units in the Poncha Springs service area was 688, with an additional 500 units already approved through sewer line, extension connection agreements, but not yet online. 688 plus 500 equals 1,168. This reaches the alarming threshold of 80% of the current pipe capacity, triggering the need for replacement and an expansion of the interceptor, which, by the way, just to make it clear, this trunk line passes sewer. So this is what we're saying, that when we talk capacity, we're talking about capacity that our staff and engineering consultants are saying is needed to pass along sewer, which obviously has health implications. Any new development above 1,168 equivalent single-family units goes beyond this 80% critical pipe capacity at this interceptor, which is why the city responsibly withheld sewer line extension agreements for developments approved by Poncha Springs Town Board, which comprises of 262 residential units. So those are the two large developments that are currently suing the city, and why the moratorium had to be placed on these properties and any subsequent development until those necessary improvements are funded. Our Public Works Director, David Lady, has confirmed this fact and this report as well from this objective, independent, third-party engineering source, which the city of Salida has paid almost $200,000 over the last few years to conduct and finalize. So just to recap, that is why Ordinance 2023-09, which the City Council at the time passed in June, was necessary, because this trunk line was nearing critical capacity. We could not responsibly accept applications anymore until the line expanded to 18 inches. Engineers have warned us about this. Engineers who speak very objectively, without any skin in the game. The current line could not possibly serve any of the properties from these new developments because they simply would not be enough capacity. So I want to clarify that another fact, this ordinance applies to properties benefiting from this interceptor and affected by its capacity limitations, which have not been approved for connection. So this moratorium, we made it clear in that ordinance and in the CAF, it did not apply to properties which have already been approved for connection through the execution of a sewer line expansion or a connection agreement. In other words, many years of approved developments can still build and are still building in Poncha and are obtaining taps. It's just the new main extensions from these developments that would bring us over the critical capacity that are being prohibited. Other taps are not being prohibited. There are hundreds of lots that already have sewer connection agreements that are still being built and still can be built. Therefore, this moratorium did not stop development as we know it. Also, to answer the question as to why so much time has passed, this ordinance was necessary because Poncha Springs and the developers, both of whom I personally was negotiating for many years, we were trying to resolve it. And that's why it kept being delayed. They kept saying, wait, let's just try to resolve it. Neither Poncha or the developer did not accept multiple offers for settlement. So we had no choice but to implement the moratorium. In fact, my last letter to the town attorney of Poncha Springs said, if we don't hear back from you, we'll have to put the moratorium. So we tried to mediate, we tried to come to a settlement, we tried to come to a resolution. And by the way, the resolution that I've always pursued was recommended by Dee Weiser, who is the preeminent bond counsel in this state. So I've been asked, can we lift the moratoriums on these developments? We can't because, first of all, these developments are what's getting us over that capacity. And also, how would we pay for this? We are trying to say, how will we pay? That's what the staff just keeps trying to say. We just want to know, how can we pay for this? So then just some general updates and factual clarifications. There's court-ordered mediation in this litigation occurring at the end of June. So we remain hopeful. Engineering plans to expand the Poncha trunk line have been put together, so the city is moving forward in good faith for these upgrades and capital improvements. The city is also working with our finance consultants, Ellers, to determine and present viable financing options to you all. CIRSA is defending us. That's the city's insurance or self-insured pool. They are paying for our defense litigation attorneys. So that's another outside firm. That's not my firm. I spoke with the developer's attorneys, Kristen Decker from Foster Graham, in March of 2023. And I asked for, what are your suggestions? Are you willing to offer that each development pays an additional, for example, $10,000 in tap fees for this new development? Therefore, if that happened, there would be no moratorium, there would be no lawsuit. I've tried, I've had these conversations. You've confirmed as City Council that you feel development should pay its own way. Developers normally pay for infrastructure required for what that development needs. This is statewide, this is nationwide. We've all read the Section 7 of the IGA that speaks that costs are borne by future development. This is not a Salida versus Poncha Springs thing. This is a new development creating the need for an expansion of this trunk line and whether or not they should pay for that. As far as I know, also, I would like to say, I've heard that these housing developments are for affordable housing. As far as we know, these two larger developments are not for affordable housing. We did ask about a year or so ago, if that's not the case, please clarify if these are gonna be deed restricted units. We would love to hear that. But last we heard, it was market rate, single family residential going for around $750,000, and that was about a year ago. I wanted to reiterate the city's specific warnings regarding one of the developments that keeps coming up. Again, we included the letter from March 3rd, 2020, where PT would send a letter to Poncha Springs Board in advance of the town's public hearing on the Moats Tailwind 2 annexation application. Mayor Wood concluded the City of Salida, acting as water wastewater enterprise, humbly requests that no decision on the annexation, especially with regard to public improvements, can be made until the full scope of data is collected, analyzed, and discussed. In addition to this March 3rd, 2020 warning, there was the letter dated April 6th, 2022. It was read tonight referencing that letter, so I'm going to reference it as well. This was sent to the town of Poncha Springs during the subdivision Phase 1 plat. And the Public Works Director cited to the engineering consultants, and he said that the developer will be required to submit an application and that to connect to sewer taps. This is anticipated to be contingent of renegotiated agreements or the developer providing off-site improvements due to the noted capacity limitations. If I was a developer, and by the way, I began my legal career representing developers for 8 years in New York, I would take a warning, the warning that happened in 2020 and the warning that happened in 22 and say, I got to figure out my infrastructure. I have to figure out a plan. That to me, that's just logical. So that's why I'm going to point out that happened 4 years ago and 2 years ago. And then just more clarification. Sorry, I'm a little thirsty. More clarification, just because we've, again, heard so many misstatements. The Poncha Interceptor, which is in front of you, it's the only facility currently requiring an upgrade to increase capacity. No other parts of the wastewater system are nearing capacity or require construction upgrades. The interceptor is only needing an upgrade to increase capacity due to developments that are on the left side of your screen. No development within the city of Salida or outside these properties service or are benefiting from the interceptor or creating a need for these expensive improvements. These upgrades only benefit the brand new residential development. Again, this system-wide capacity issue does not currently exist, nor is the wastewater treatment plant nearing capacity. Another clarification I want to say is the city has no approval authority regarding land use applications in Poncha Springs. So for example, we'll send these warnings, we'll write these letters, but again, the board either didn't take into consideration or didn't give sufficient warning, where the city's only a referral agency pursuant to the IGA. Most other local governments in the state have the ability to determine land use applications affecting key services within their jurisdiction and can decline service connection based on availability of services. And then again, the city slide has no say what this development would be, and that's where, kind of why we're here now. Again, the city is taking steps to work with Ellers, our financing consultants, to figure out financing options to show the overall impact and cost at a ratepayer level. I truly think that will help you make an educated decision because you will see the numbers of what this would cost if it were to be borne by the entire system, including current ratepayers. And then you can make an educated decision. And there are just not that many options for wastewater systems. Congressional funding is not an option. DOLA doesn't have large enough programs, and there's just not, money falling from the trees for these purposes, especially when we're in a lawsuit, or the rates do not show the debt service. So I just want to make it clear, and staff has asked me to say, that they do support these additional flows and the ability to treat them, but they just don't want to be irresponsible, the irresponsibility of having sewer discharged out of manholes in that red dotted line. This is basic infrastructure we're talking about, and you can't just let it roll until it hits capacity without the fiscal components in place for replacement. It takes years to secure the fiscal side and more years to construct. Finally, I want to make note that new development in Salida pays for the infrastructure required by that development. For example, the South Arc new development is paying for its own infrastructure needed for that development. And then one more thing I want to do before calling up Commissioner Wood, who is here, is just to address, the negotiations. I try to be transparent as possible. I'm definitely more transparent about these type of issues than any other attorney. Most attorneys just totally zip it when litigation, but I know, the Salida is a very unique community, and I can't just sit on my hands hearing a lot of this misinformation. But if we were to have the negotiations of the public, like the specifics, that would hurt our position, and that really hurts the taxpayers. But we'll try. I mean, I'm doing this report because just to try to be transparent and to kind of just dispel the misinformation. I would like to, if we could call up Commissioner P.T. Wood, who knows a lot more about the history than I do. Thank you, P.T.
Thank you, Councilor Williams. I don't know if I have a lot to add to the discussion. I think Mayor Shore certainly covered a lot of the history. I will say one of the important parts there was that one of the very first things that I did as mayor in 2017, based on my 10 years on the Planning Commission, was reach out to Poncha Springs and raise my concerns about the sewer line capacity and potential growth out there. And certainly, lo and behold, that has come to pass. And I think Councilor Williams really expressed this well, that the IGA itself is a big part of the problem, and it does have some conflicting issues, and that it says that Salida will take care of the sewer system, but it also says that ratepayers won't pay for those improvements. My initial suggestion and thought on this in 2017 was that new development in Poncha would pay an additional $2,000 to $5,000 per tap fee, and while that wouldn't have gotten us across the finish line on this, it certainly would have provided a pot of money that would have made bonding or COP possible and actually relatively easy to do on the expansion, which was $14.5 million 5 years ago. Just based on prices we're paying at the county for things right now, I'm guessing it's, maybe not double, but not far from that right now. So I don't see how this is paid for without some participation from the current ratepayers, which I think is incredibly unfortunate. And certainly having development pay for development has always been a kind of ethos within the valley here, and something that we've tried to achieve. So this is challenging. I'm glad I'm not Mayor of Salida anymore.
Thank you very much.
But it is important to solve. It is critical for our housing stock to solve this problem and get these developments moving forward. And I'm happy to answer any questions, I guess.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
That beard's looking really good. Too.
Got a competition.
I'm chasing you, Aaron. I'm chasing you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope mine looks as good that color when I get there.
Yeah, mine was your colors when I was elected mayor, so.
There's no rush.
No rush.
Yeah, all right.
No
Thank you
rush.
so much. Anything from staff this evening? Okay, very good. We do have an executive session this evening, so,
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I move to go into executive session. You read my mind. For a conference with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS Section 24-6-4024B, and for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators under CRS Section 24-6-4024E, and so that the presiding officer may ask attorney/staff to provide the details related to the hiring of a new, whoa, what's that?
It's on the screen, if you could.
My God. Oh, geez, yeah, you gave me the wrong.
that was,
What is that? Hiring of a new city administrator? I mean, of course, I meant to say Atmos franchise agreement
What's happening?
and franchise agreement terms generally.
I can't
What is
hear
that?
you. Are you hiring
It's like
a new
6
city
months old.
administrator?
I don't know if the first part of that
No, it's all
motion.
good.
Okay, great.
Does our new administrator know that?
Do I get it? Do I have a second?
can we?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Critelli, seconded by Councilmember Stevens, and the motion. I'll
Not what I was.
I'll do the correct, is to go into executive session for the purpose of conferencing with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS Section 24-6-4024B, and for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiation, developing strategy for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators under CRS Section 24-6-4024E. And the following additional details are provided for identification purposes: Atmos franchise agreement and franchise agreement terms generally. Further discussion?
Stevens,
Yes.
Peppenfort,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Critelli.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great.
Wow, everybody cleared
All
out
right.
so quick.
Yes, they did. They were
Nothing personal.
well trained. So the time is now 7:30 PM, and with us today, we have Kelly, Councilmember Fontana, City Attorney Nina Williams, and Public Works Director David Lady. This is an executive session for the following purposes: for conferencing with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving specific legal advice specific to the Atmos franchise agreement and franchise agreement terms generally. I caution each participant to confine all discussion to the stated purpose of the executive session, that no formal action may occur. I was going to do that at the beginning, never mind. Okay, scratch that. The time is now, 8:15. Okay, I hereby attest this recording reflects the actual contents of the discussion at the executive session and has been made in lieu of any written minutes to satisfy the recording requirements of the open meetings law. City clerk will retain the recording for a 90-day period. The time is 8:15. We now conclude the executive session and return to the open meeting. The time is 8:15. The executive session is concluded. The participants in the executive session were Councilmember Justin Critelli, Councilmember Suzanne Fontana, Councilmember Aaron Stevens, Mayor Dan Shore, Councilmember Wales Martin, and Councilmember Elisa Pappenfort, City Administrator Christy Dune, City Attorney Nina Williams, and Public Works Director David Lady. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next agenda item is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second, DA.
Aye.
Hey.
Have a good night.